Hello. I am Richard Barrington. I was born into slavery in 1810. Oh, I know when you say slavery, to some people, it's a bad thing. But I was born into a family. They were good people. To show you how good they were, Solomon Weatherby Downs, my master, against all of the social norms of the time, taught me to read, to write, and to cipher. Now, for you youngsters out there, ciphering is adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, and most of all, counting money. I know people frown down on the institution of slavery, but I am of the opinion you play with the hand you're dealt. No matter how bad it was, no matter how good it was, if you work hard and look beyond the situation that you're in, you will turn out okay. In 1847, Solomon Downs became the first senator from Northeast Louisiana. And guess what? He took me to Washington, D.C. with him. I learned a lot. While there, not only was I his personal servant, taking care of his clothes, shaving, barbering him, shining his shoes, but I became his private secretary and treasurer. Senator Downs kept a tight wing upon his money. I can remember one time in this great city of Washington, D.C., many of the history makers of our time were there. They were senators and representatives. One was Senator John C. Calhoun. Oh, he was not very good company. In fact, he was mean and astute. Everyone was afraid of him, including his friends. Then there was Senator Daniel Webster, a powerful voice, a great man to pass laws, a generous man. Then there was Senator Henry Clay. Oh, he was fiery, well-spoken. I learned a lot from them. Senator Stephen Douglas, the great debater. Well, let me tell you something. He couldn't hold a candle to Senator Downs in a debate. Later on, he debated Lincoln. Now, Jefferson Davis, who later became the president of the Confederacy. Many years later, in Monroe, when I had a barber shop, I would tell some of my friends that while I was in Washington, D.C., many times I had Jefferson Davis' nose between my fingers and a razor in my hand. But I meant him no ill will. Later on, most of these gentlemen did not bring their wives or family with them, and that was a gentleman's club. Oh, after the food was put away, after the wine had been served, after the nuts and the meat, all of the servants were sent home except me. I alone was allowed to hear, to see whatever went on. Let me tell you one of those stories. You see, that was this one time. Oh, there are ladies' presents. Perhaps another time, another place for that story. Sometime later, Senator Downs and I went to New York City. Oh, New York City. For an old country boy like me, the size of the city, the sounds, the smells. Great city. While there, a gentleman inquired of Senator Downs and gave him a package. In this package was $7,000. And he found out that we were going to New Orleans. And he asked the senator to take care of it for him. So Senator Downs gave me the package and told me to keep it for him. Oh, you can imagine how that guy looked. He looked at Senator Downs. He looked at me. He looked back at him. And he shook his head and walked away. Sometime later, when we arrived in New Orleans, a gentleman came to our hotel room. And I say our hotel room. In the 1800s, wherever Senator Downs would go, I would go. If he had a room, I had a room. When he ate at the diner, I ate at the diner. Way years before that could happen. The gentleman came to the room and Senator Downs told me to go and get the package. I got the package, gave it to Senator Downs. He immediately gave it to the gentleman without looking at it. But the gentleman looked at me, looked at Senator Downs, and hurriedly opened the package and started counting. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. It's all here. If something would be missing. He looked at me, looked at Senator Downs, and he said, "Did you raise that Negro?" Senator Downs said, "Yes, I did." He said, "Well, I'll give you $2,000 for him." Senator Downs said, "That you will, but you don't have enough money to purchase him." That made me feel good, to think that he thought that much of me and all of the things that he had taught me. Later on, in 1854, Senator Downs died. And when he died, in his will, he gave not only my freedom, he gave the freedom to my wife and my children. He left me a $500 cash donation and the use of any of his land. His land was from the area of the Riverside Cemetery all the way to Cuba, down the Ouachita River. I declined the land because getting freedom was something special to me. But I soon found out that in Louisiana during that time, if a slave was given his freedom, there was a law that said he had to leave Louisiana. So a Representative Charles Morrison, introduced a bill in the House in Louisiana to exempt me from that law. And it passed unanimously without any dissension. So I became the first free man from this area. I bought some land, opened a barber shop in what is now downtown Monroe, and I worked in different business. Later on, during Reconstruction, they came and asked me, would I run for senator or representative? I declined, because I had burning itching to do something else. I had noticed that there were no schools for recently freed Negroes and their children. So I purchased some land on the corner of 8th and Washington Street. And that became the Wisner School. If you can look at this particular, this is Senator Downs' grave. When he died, being a United States citizen, senator, I found out that he did not have a tombstone. So I made inquiry to his family, and they gave me permission to have a marble slab made just for him. That's when it was relocated again. It's been lost several times since 1854. It was moved, one of the first graves to be established in the Riverside Cemetery. On that slab, I put Senator S.W. Downs died August 13th, 1854, age 53 years. Peace to his ashes. Erected by his old servant, Richard, as a small token of his gratitude. He had been so kind to not only me, but to my whole family. Later on, I opened go back one, please. This is the condition of the grave now. I've already inquired of the person that's over the cemeteries to let them know that they do have a dignitary that is in that place, Senator Downs. The first senator, not only from this area, but I have a legacy with him because he freed the first black person from Louisiana. And I would like to see that grave restored. Right now they're parking trailers close to that area. So I would love to see it restored. On the corner of 8th and Washington, this is the Wisner School. It was started in 1880s. It was a little shotgun house. And it had grades. I started with grades 1st through 7th, and later they added the 11th grade. I sent my son, Frank, to St. Louis to further his education, and he came back later and became principal of this school. Several years later, this school was burned down by a group of people that felt like Negroes should not be educated. Not only did they burn down the school, but within a 1-mile radius, there were 5 churches. New Tabernacle Baptist Church, Riverside, First Baptist, Zion Travel, and Zion Hill. Someone thought that by burning the school and burning the 5 churches that provided the students and the teachers for this school, that would destroy everything. But it did not. In 1824, the Wisner School moved 3 blocks down the street, and they started what was called Monroe Colored High. It was a 3-story brick building. Had a gymnasium and a swimming pool. I'm just old enough to have swum in that pool. This is the back of the school. You have those army barracks that was moved as temporary buildings, but it stayed there many years. They were there from I know I was in the first grade in 1952 till I left there, going to the ninth grade for Carroll High School. This is the 1946 Monroe Colored High. Some of you may know this gentleman in the middle, Mr. M.H. Carroll, Carroll High School. The man on this side is Mr. B.D. Robertson. He later became the principal of this school. Now, this was in 46. I was born in 1946. Most of these teachers were still there in 1952 when I started. And I found out through research that I was one of the last class of the Monroe Colored High. I'm just honored to have been connected with this school. About 9 of the teachers that's in this group taught me between the first grade and the sixth grade. In 1952-53 year, Carroll High School opened, and they moved to the present location on Renwick Street. Now, on the site of the old Wisner School, one of those churches, the New Tabernacle Church that I belonged to, one of the churches that was burned, after being in the Dixie Baden family for over 80 years, we bought that property. And now there is a charter school, the first Monroe City Charter School, the Excellent Academy, that is on the site of the old Wisner School. Richard Barrington left a legacy. It's taught to all of the students. It was taught to me. And I'm honored to portray him. I grew a beard just to have some features of him. But the legacy that he left was to the African, the Negro, the colored, the Afro-American, the African-American, and to the black people, that with hard work and playing the hand that you are given, you can move upward with God and education as your guide.